Hi everyone, I'm Rachel, and in this tutorial I want to show you how to color hyper-realistic blood using the Color Therapy app. In this app, you can add blood to the Halloween or spooky scenes like with vampires, or use it to add drama to warriors. You can even use it to add wounds to any character. It requires only a few steps and can add a lot of dimension to your scene. The image I'm using for this tutorial can be found under the Deluxe tab, and if you select the Fair Ladies and then scroll down to Lady Warrior, it's going to be the fourth image down. Alright, so I'm using this image of a warrior woman, and I just basically tapped to fill in all of the color. I didn't really add too much detail because we're going to mainly just focus on the blood, but she'll be a great example for that. So let's go ahead and choose our colors for the blood. Open up the color palette, and under the basic palette, select Vibrant, and then choose a solid dark red. And then in Essential 1, go over to Colorful Metallic and choose a dark burgundy and a dark orange. And then you also need a black from the basic palette. Now these colors that we chose can apply to almost every skin color, give or take. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to zoom in really close here to her face and add a nice slash. So the first thing I'll do is sort of outline the wound, and I'm going to use the pencil tool. So open up the manual mode, select pencil tool. I like using that for wounds because it has a nice jagged edge to it. And I'll have the opacity at 100, and I'm going to lower the size to about 3%. And this will just depend on how big you want it, but that's what I'm going to use for these settings. And then I'll select that dark burgundy color, and I'm just going to start to outline the shape of that wound. So I just want to make it kind of long, like a slash across her face, kind of jagged. It doesn't really matter too much right now, but I'm going to have the edges taper off on each side. Okay, so it can be kind of rough. That's just an outline for our guide. Now I want to switch over to the smudge tool. And this time I'll lower the opacity to 35 and raise the size to 50. And using that same burgundy color, I'm going to add sort of a bruise to the face. And this is kind of just adding a little bit of trauma. So it makes the skin look like it was injured. So it helps to add that nice texture around the wound. And I'm just kind of tapping the Apple Pencil. You can use your finger to do this as well. Okay, now go into the manual mode and we're going to fill in the wound. So this time I want to raise the opacity to 100 and I'm going to lower the size to around 5%. Then using both burgundy and red, I'm going to start to fill in that wound. I'm just filling in that area where I made that jagged edge. And I'm just going to switch back to the red now and just add it. I'm kind of just tapping it in. You can use the airbrush tool, but it just looks a lot smoother. And I think that the smudge tool is better for this jagged texture. And I'm also going to use that orange color, add it into the wound in a few places too. And you also want to add it around the slash. So just right outside of that edge. Again, just sort of tapping that color in. Okay, now let's go back to the pencil, add in some details. And I'm going to lower the opacity now to about 50%. The size can stay the same. And going back again, using those colors we were just using in the wound, so the burgundy, orange, and the red, I'm going to start to add in some more detail into that wound. And what I'm doing is sort of just adding it in a few places around the edge. So it kind of looks like that skin right here on the edge of the wound is just sort of, it's kind of gaping open. And if you need to look at a reference, that can help. And then you can also use a layer of black just in a few areas to add even more of contrast, just on those edges. Now this one, I want to add a drip too. So what we're going to do is using that burgundy, and we're still using the pencil tool, I'm going to outline it just like what we did before. I'm going to have it kind of come from this middle area right here and just draw it down her chin. And that'll be the outline for the drip. I'm going to fill it in with red. And we'll do the same thing with those colors again. So now I'm going to add just a little bit of a shadow using that burgundy. And I'm going to do it on just one side. So this one side of the blood drip is going to be having a shadow here. and just kind of blend it into the red. You can use the orange also to help blend it in, and just a touch of black just at the bottom. So now we want to add a highlight to that drip in the blood. So select the manual mode, use airbrush this time because it'll be a lot smoother, and then lower the size to 0 and raise the opacity to 100. Make sure too that you have a basic white, so just select white under the basic palette. And going ahead, we'll just add a quick highlight, just using a little pressure there until it looks shiny. Now you can use the airbrush tool to draw the drip itself. So if you want those edges here to look even more slick, you can do that with the airbrush. Just add it in and you can smooth out those edges. And then from here, you can just add in drips anywhere else you want. So you can add several coming out of one wound and dripping down, or anywhere else you want. And here's the final version with our wounded warrior princess. So it's really up to you to vary the amount of blood and drips, how large they are, and if the wound is more of a scrape and a bruise or a clean cut. If you'd like to see more tutorials like this, don't forget to subscribe to the Color Therapy YouTube channel so you don't miss any new tutorial videos. Thanks for watching our tutorial. You can get the Color Therapy app for free on the App Store.